Okay. Okay, so welcome family and good evening. We're gonna continue to let some folks trickle in, but we want to stay mindful of the time and protect people's time. So I'm just gonna gently start intros now. My name is Tyra Clark, and I'm facilitating tonight's session. This is an inspiring summit led by the Black Leaders Collective entitled Black Businesses Rising, Creating the Road to Generational Wealth. And it's aimed at cultivating information, education, and training for Black businesses. Before I introduce the session topic and our presenters tonight, and then, kind of how things are going to flow, I'm going to put something in the chat real quick as well as voice it. And it's just a summit playback. Just kind of run through the sessions that have been happening so far up until today, and then let you all know what session is going on tonight. So summit playback, there we go. So far, starting on Thursday, October 13th, we had a session called Business Chemistry. It was in person. Hopefully some of you all got a chance to make that. Then the next session that was a part of the Black Businesses Rising Summit happened on Tuesday, October 18th, which was virtual. And it was a part of the home buying. It was a home buying session entitled The Ultimate Road to Creating Generational Wealth, which was pretty great. Got a chance to attend that. It was amazing. That was virtual. And then we had a Wednesday session on October 19th that was in person, called the Small Business Financial Confidence, and it was How Do I Think Bigger? That was in person. And then Monday, a couple of days ago, we had a virtual session entitled How to Get Started as a Small Business, which was pretty impactful. Yesterday, we had a session, Tuesday, October 25th, we had a virtual session called How to Certify My Business with the City of Austin. And today is the last session of the summit, our sixth session. And it is entitled Who Decides Who Gets City Dollars, and How Can I Be Down? And the subtitle of that is basically, we're talking about the procurement process. Whether it's city, state, or federal concerns or questions about how do I get into the mix of, how do I get funding? Where do I get access to these dollars? It boils down to the procurement process. So we have folks from an array of departments, city, state, and federal, coming in to talk about the procurement process, to sort of demystify what goes into this process and who decides who gets what. Tonight's presenters of the session entitled Who Decides Who Gets City Dollars and How Can I Be Down are going to be Joni Foster with the Economic Growth Business Incubator, aka EGBI. We also have Curtis Mohler, the Program Director at the Procurement Technical Assistance Center, aka PTAC. So we have two presenters today that'll break some critical information down for you. And then we have an awesome set of panelists that'll be talking and answering questions a little later. I believe we have 6 to 8 panelists. After our presenters go today, I will introduce the panelists, and then we'll kick off our Q&A community town hall, if you will. I'm going to go ahead and put the session agenda in the chat as well, so you all have a better understanding of how tonight's going to flow. And it's 6:08 now, so we'll give it a little bit of time for folks. I think I see you, Bree. Hey, Bree. Welcome back. You've been in most, if not all, the sessions.
I missed yesterday, but I told myself
Okay.
that I was definitely going to make it to this one today.
Yes, awesome. And just some food for thought for everyone else here. Bree Hurt is an amazing, I want to say realtor, among many other. No. What would you?
I am a business partner to real estate agents and loan officers. I'm in title and escrow, so the closing process.
Beautiful. Okay, excellent. So, and you, Bree helped facilitated and moderated our home buying session that happened earlier. The home buying session happened Tuesday, the 18th, October 18th. So she was a part of that. I'm going to put also in the chat, you all, where you can get playback of some of these sessions so far. We plan on having them all archived soon. But the home buying series is up there now, I believe. We have some sessions from last year as well. And then the sessions, the virtual sessions that have happened up until now, you all will see within the coming weeks. And if you were able to sign up for sign up through Eventbrite for today's session, you will also get a playback of today's recording. So just make sure you all sign up for that link. Make sure you have signed up for this section so you can get that, be in the loop. But cool, 6:10, we'll get started here soon. Let me let it breathe a little bit and just make sure you all know who's coming. We'll have Curtis, Joni and Curtis's information in the chat as well. And we'll have them pop on the screen here soon. In the meantime, while presenters are presenting, if you all can just make sure your mic is muted and that your videos are off. And then when it's time for Q&A and panel, you all can unmute yourselves and come back on camera or come on camera and you know, let's commune together, discuss things together. Can't let Martha in. Okay. So our first presenter up today will be, again, today's session is who decides who gets city dollars and how can I be down? Today's presenters will be Ms. Joni Foster from the Economic Growth Business Incubator and Curtis Mohler from the Procurement Technical Assistance Center. Today, our first presenter today will be Ms. Joni Foster. Ms. Joni Foster has been doing this for 30 years and has used used to direct a nationwide org that ran 15 million in government contracts. She's an amazing person. She'll be covering information on, you know, how to write winning government proposals. She'll just be covering information on proposals, which is, you know, writing proposals, knowing how to read them, knowing how to approach a proposal is a huge part of the procurement process. So she'll be doing an overview of information on proposal writing today. She'll be our first presenter. And then we will have Curtis Mohler coming on second. Curtis Mohler serves as the PTAC, Procurement Technical Assistance Center Regional Program Manager, and he manages 38 counties. He'll be our second presenter today, and we'll be covering information on how an overview of the procurement industry. And Curtis works on the state and federal levels, I want to say. So y'all going to get some rich information today. After our presenters present, I'll introduce the panel and we'll get into Q&A. the session's agenda is in the chat. And if you have any questions before we get to Q&A, please put it in the chat and make sure you're muted and off camera. And then you should have access to share as well, Miss Joni. But yeah, without further ado.
You passing it on to me?
I'm passing it on, but I'm gonna stay. I think I'm gonna stay on as well.
Beautiful.
On camera as well. Yes.
Okay. My name is Joni Foster. I'm the program director at EGBI. We are a nonprofit on the east side of Austin, and we work in Central Texas with people who are trying to start or grow a business. They're usually mom and pop shops, people who are doing essential work, doing businesses that they want to own for a lifestyle. And we provide training, coaching, and support services to help businesses grow. So one of my specialties is working with people who are trying to secure government contracts. And I believe that's why I've been asked to talk a bit today. I am, a lot of the resource folks that are on today are from the government, work for different agencies, and they're super resourceful people. I will distinguish myself because I'm not at the government. I have been, like most of you, who are trying to access government funds and trying to figure out how to maneuver and understand all of their acronyms and their processes to just cut to the chase and how can I be down with this process? So I'm going to talk to you from the street and from the heart and how it worked and how I've seen it work. A lot of the resource people here are going to tell you how it works from their perspective, and they're both very, very important perspectives. But I'm going to be straight up with who I am and how I did it. So let me share my screen. I thought I was. Here we go. Most of you are probably familiar with Zoom at this point, so I don't probably have to tell you how this works. So I'm going to just jump right in. I don't have very many slides. I think I have 5 total, but then I want to jump into the procurement process at the City of Austin and show you around a little bit and show you a couple of different types of solicitation. So this is what I'm going to talk about today. My part, Curtis is going to take over on the second half, but the first thing you have to think about is my organization positioned? Does my business have the conditions to be successful at government contracting? And then we'll talk the difference between being the general contractor or being a subcontractor for either construction or even professional or non-professional contracts. And then we'll go into a little bit about reading and finding and reading solicitations so that you understand how to respond. So the first thing that we trying to get government contracts needs to understand is what the government values the most. And so we all know, sitting from here, not inside the government, that you guys have tons of money and you're always having solicitations, and you know so many people who are making billions of dollars working for the government. And while that's true, there are lots and lots and lots of opportunities. The government, whichever city, state, county, whoever it is spending taxpayer dollars. And their most important value is that tax-paying citizens are happy with the government, okay? And we all know that we like to complain, oh, the government wasted my money on that. They spent, $10,000 on a toilet, right? We hear all these stories, and that sends people who work for government agencies up the wall because they don't ever want to be accused of wasting taxpayers' dollars. So, let me see. How do they ensure that tax-paying citizens aren't protesting at City Hall or sending them emails or talking about them or not voting for their candidates, etc.? They put that money out to contractors who have experience on the job who have experience managing government contracts, which is its own type of work, who are have reliable staff and have good subs lined up, and businesses that have contractors who have strong financials. Because while government tries to speed up payments, they are notoriously slow at paying. And the general contractor has to carry the project until the city pays, and they're not going to get their profit until close to the end. So you have to have strong financials to be able to manage a city contract. So they're going to be looking, they're going to be asking questions to see if you meet this criteria. And then secondly, they want to know that you can, that they need to believe in their heart before they sign a contract with you, that you can deliver either the infrastructure or the services that they're asking for, completed properly, on time, and on budget. And the bigger the contract and the more risky the contract, you know, nobody wants to hire somebody to build a bridge and then the bridge falls down. That would be having citizens at City Hall protesting and things like that happen. So when you understand what the government, why the government has all these rules and all these regulations and all this paperwork, it's to protect themselves, that whatever dollars go out, that they're spent well. And we as taxpaying citizens appreciate that, right? We don't want to see boondoggles or messed up projects, or why did they hire that person? They had no experience doing that, okay? So where does that leave folks who don't have, you know, 20 years of experience with government contracts and, you know, are already swinging and making this thing happen and have all the prerequisites? How's the little guy get into this business? So let's talk a little bit about what you need to do to put your business in a position to be competitive to begin with, okay? So we work with people just with a dream and an idea to, actually we have clients who, you know, are doing $1 million plus in revenue. They've been with us for a while and they've been able to grow. But the majority of our clients are brand new, first 2 to 3 years, and they're trying to make it to that next level and that next level. So unless you have a lot of experience and you come to the table and you just open your business this week, but you've been working with government contracts for the past, you know, 5-10 years, it's going to be really hard to position yourself right away out of the gate to be competitive. And what I see is sort of the parameters of when you're ready to even jump into the game is the first one, when you have more than one person shop. So I have a lot of construction folks. They used to work for a contractor and now they're trying to go out on their own. They've just started, they might have bought a backhoe, but it's just them. Well, they're out there doing the job and looking for jobs at the same time. And it's very, very hard. That's very hard to do, to even start, but it's very hard to get into the government contracting game if you're a one-person shop, because it takes a long time. If you have never been into it, it takes a long time to even understand what the process is, and just looking for opportunities and doing your due diligence and putting the applications together. You'll see by the end of this that it takes a lot of work. It takes some time. And if you don't have the time right now to dedicate to that, you're not really going to be successful. And what I notice is people who have more than one person, and sometimes in a contracting, you know, in construction, very often I see the guy out there with the backhoe doing the work and his wife doing the office work, paying the bills, looking for new projects, etc. Well, it's that second person who now has maybe a little time to start looking into this government contract. Again, I'm not saying it's impossible. Everybody has their own set of circumstances, but this is what what I see, where the entry point really might be. You got to have set up your legal structure. If it's a DBA or an LLC, you just have to have your business structure. You're going to see that all of these solicitations are going to ask for some kind of insurance. So you might as well figure out who your insurance agent is and get some insurance up front. And then after you've looked at enough solicitations, you'll start getting a sense of what the insurance requirements are. And so you'll be working with your insurance agent. If you don't have that kind of insurance immediately, you'll at least know how to get it as soon as you get hired for a particular job. You're going to need some equipment, and each solicitation might tell you what that looks like. But even more important, you're going to need to start this by having a network with other contractors and GCs and consultants to exchange work opportunities. And I know when I was doing consulting in the social sector, I'm part of an association of other consultants, and we pass around opportunities all the time on the email. And all those different associations out there that you could join, they're very valuable. You have to have a network. It's very, very hard to be in business anyways without a network, but the more you can network with other people who can help you if you're going after a government contract, the better. Because, and we'll talk about that in a minute, you can either be the general contractor, the person that applies it directly, or you can be a sub in a large contract. You can just do one piece of it. And both are valuable, and both has pros and cons. We'll talk about that in a minute. To work for the government, you have to have accounting systems in place that allow you to pull timely and accurate financial reports. You're going to have to bill the city. You're going to have to process for billing. You're going to have processes for accepting payments, and they're going to need to. You're going to have to report back to the agency with financial documents. You'll probably have to provide financial statements for the proposal itself, because a lot of times the government agency is going to check to make sure you have the financial capability to take this project to the end. Not only do you have to be able to pull them, that you really need, sorry, I'm trying to use my clicker for the wrong thing. You have to have the ability to read and interpret financial statements so you can know how your business is doing. EGBI, we work with folks all day long to help them set up their financial management systems, learn how to use QuickBooks Online, and then how to read and use their financial statements to build and grow their business. So if you do not have these systems in place yet, please feel free. You'll have my contact information later. You can give us a call, and one of us at EGBI can spend some time with you, and either through workshops or one-on-one, help you get in position. Past taxes filed and paid. We have a lot of clients that come to us and they are behind on taxes. We are not the government, so it is not we don't run your business. You run the business, but we will provide you guidance on how to get right with your taxes, because it will be very hard to get in a position to do larger and larger government contracts if you're not paying both your own business taxes and your sales tax and anything else, your franchise tax, whatever you're required to pay. You'll need that. And then many contracts, particularly construction, you'll need to be able to get bonded. And that's a whole nother workshop, but it is based on looking at strong financial statements. It's sort of like an insurance policy underwritten by your financial statement. In terms of experience for your business, you need to probably show at least 2 years of experience in your field. And that means, and there's many ways of pulling that experience together. If you just started your business, but you've been in the world for 30 years doing that thing, you can bring that experience to your resume. Or you can hire somebody with good experience to be on your staff, or hire somebody to be a sub for the contract. So you don't have to personally and only have the experience, but your business has to present a proposal that shows that the people and what you're proposing, that there is some experience behind. And they usually are going to ask you, tell us experience that's a similar type and a similar size job. And that's very hard when you're starting out, you know. And again, this is where you bring good consultants or good contractors on, or you find staff who can bring that in, because it depends on what size of a job you're looking at. You know, it's hard to start off the gate with $1 million contract with the government. You might have to start off with smaller contract or be a subcontractor first and build your experience resume. What that means, because you know you need experience, you need to keep track of all the work you're doing right now. Whether it's on just an Excel spreadsheet with the names, the date you did it, the size of the contract, and any other things that would build your profile of who you are, you keep track of that. And when the application asks you to tell them about your experience, you don't have to scratch your head and remember, when did I do that? You have your corporate resume portfolio right there at hand, and you can pull the most, the experiences that match most what you're applying for just from that spreadsheet. So keep track of what you're doing right now. And if you have positive recommendations, many times they'll ask for referrals, and people, hey, we're thinking about hiring this person. They say you've worked for them. Can you give us any recommendations? And they're basically did they come in on time and on budget? Were there any problems with the project? So start thinking about who you can use as recommendations. We've talked a little bit about the staffing. It's more than a one-person business, and there's different ways of building that corporate resume with staff or with consultants. You really can't use undocumented workers on government contracts. And even if you were thinking, well, I'll apply for the government contract and I'll use these subs who are undocumented, for the most part, that's not going to work, because the government processes will underwrite your subs too, and they're going to be looking for documentation that they are a legitimate job or a legitimate business. Because again, what is it the governments don't want? They don't want people saying, oh my gosh, did you see they built that bridge and it was all with these undocumented people, you know, and especially this day and age, right? So government's very squirrely about undocumented workers working on government jobs. Okay, moving forward, we're going to talk about whether you want to be the lead or you want to follow. There's pros and cons of each position. Everybody wants to be the GC, the general contractor, because they think that's where the money is. Did you see that contract? It was for $1 million. I want to be the GC. But what they don't realize is the GC is responsible for the entire project. And that's a huge responsibility, because it's not just, and I don't know why I keep using a bridge example, but it's not just building the bridge, it's also managing that contract. And you're going to see these contracts are not, you know, 5-page contracts. These are like, you know, 10, 20, 50, 100-page contracts. And there's points in there that you have to meet the entire process. And so just having somebody dedicated to read that contract and manage that contract, that's why government projects cost more, is because the contracts are very dense, and many times you have to have a dedicated person just to manage having that contract. So understanding that and understanding who your business is, and do you really have the capability at the table to be the general contractor, you really have to evaluate that pretty quickly. I'm going to read this just because this is being recorded, but you have to have the proven ability to deliver on time and on budget. You need a solid list of subs for work that you don't have experience in, because you have to do the entire project, whether you have experience or not, and you have to show that you have identified who's going to do those pieces that you can't do. And you really need to have cash to be able to pay subs while the government agency takes their time paying the invoice. And that means you do the work, you have to pay your subs. The government agency doesn't send you a check for 30, 60, 90 days. Depends on if you did the invoice right. If you didn't do the invoice right, they'll send it back to you. And that can take some time. So you have to be prepared that you have some cash flow to be able to be the GC. As a subcontractor, they're hiring you for a particular trade, a particular skill set. You'll be more attractive if you have some kind of a certification, MBWB Hub, and I'm going to let Curtis talk a little bit more about that. And I think there's some other SMBR folks online who can talk about the certification. But you also need, as a subcontractor, a solid list of GCs who know and appreciate your skill sets. And that goes back to that whole thing about networking and not just waiting till you see that opportunity to start building your relationships with general contractors. Because general contractors, honestly, they're out there doing, they've got somebody dedicated, perusing and looking for all of the high level projects. And when, you know, general contractor John Smith, they're applying for 3, 4, 10 opportunities a week. And every opportunity needs to have some subcontractors in that. You don't want to just call John Smith for that particular one that you saw. You want John Smith to call you every time they're bidding on a new project. You want to be included in their submission. So I'll show you a couple ways to start building that network, but the goal right now, the early stage, is start getting to know who the general contractors are, have them get to know you. They're all looking for MBWB certified subcontractors, and they're all trying to build their list. So it's a great time to try and get into this game that way. So I think I have 2 more slides. And from here, we're going to go to, it's called Austin Finance Online, and then procurement and solicitations. And we're going to look at a couple of things. They're active solicitations. These are contracts that the city of Austin, in this case, is looking to find a contractor for. And then there are closed solicitations, and there are some things that you can find out from looking at the list of closed solicitations, who submitted for that and who won the bid, and find out, you know, there's many things you can find out about that. Before I do that, I'm going to just stop with this slide and tell you again who EGBI is and the kinds of business coaching and training that we can help you with, plus other things, but this is just for this audience. And I believe that Tyra is going to put my contact information in the chat. So let me slide out of here and go to, this is Austin Finance Online. It's a plethora of information, to be quite honest. But and you can go to the checkbook and find out who the payee, you know, if you know, I know John Smith has been getting lots of contracts. Well, let's go to the payee and look up John Smith and see what kind of payments he has gotten. It's all in the sunshine. Everything the city of Austin does, you can find on this page. But we're going to go to procurement. Procurement is a fancy word for getting people to be your vendors. Okay, so you would be called a vendor, and you have to sign up. There's a sign up button up here. And you want to be a vendor for the city. That means you want to be able to do work for them. And so here's the solicitations, and there's active and closed are the 2 places I want to go first. And God, I had this set up. Let's go to active solicitations. Now, this is just a hodgepodge of anything from any department is looking to hire somebody to do something, or for a product or a service. And so you have to just, you know, go through this and look at them and learn how to read RFP, RFQ, IRF. There's all kinds of different types of solicitations. But I wanted to look at two today, and one I was going to look at was for professional services, which is this executive recruitment, and the other one I want to look at is the construction, the construction solicitation. They're very, very different kinds of solicitations, and you'll find all of that kind of hodgepodge in that procurement open active solicitation folder. Okay, so this is for executive recruitment. You know what? Let me go ahead and do it this way. Okay, here it is. So I'm going to click on this. Oh, executive recruitment. I can do that. So you're going to get this front page, and it's going to tell you right here. This is when it was published, and this is when it is due. So I have 1 day. If I decide this is something good for me, I have 1 day to submit something. Yikes. So if you've read this far and something about this, you think, oh, I think I can do this, then you're going to come down here to the attachment. And sometimes this is so easy. This is a really good solicitation because you can tell, oh, I want this big package because I'm really looking for the scope of work. I want to know what it is they want me to do. You're going to want to look at the rest of them, but like for guerrilla tactics to get in and get out, you're going to go to that. You're going to open this document, and that's what this is right here. And this is what happens. It's a cover sheet. So this is an easy one, and you're not going to believe it. But if you look up here, it's only 46 pages. Now, if you're like me, you do not have time to read 46 pages, you know, 3 or 4 times a week to figure out, oh, this isn't really something I can do. So we're going to learn a couple of tips on how to go about looking for what you need. So if I go down, and honestly, while there is a bit of a standard way they package these, they can also be very different. So I'm going to look down here, what's in this package, and here is everything that's in this particular document. Okay, the 46 pages is made up of this. So I'm going to look for something that's going to tell me what in the heck is this, and it's the scope of work. Now, if they were not so kind as to say scope of work page 7, then I'm going to go up here to my browser, and I'm going to go to the find, and I'm going to type in here scope of work. And you can see it's in this document someplace 14 times. And here's the first one, I'm sure. But I know it's page 7, but you can see it's going to be all over the place. And I just really want to go to the scope of work. I think I missed it. Nope, I'm still in standard terms. You can see, oh, here it is. See, now isn't this funny? They put scope of work at the footer, but they didn't even start this with its description, but it should say scope of work at the top. And then I would got to the top of it. So this is where you want to start. You want to know what they're looking for. They're looking for a qualified contractor, experience with professional recruitment services. Great. For what? Okay, HR, proven track record, search for qualified candidates for various executive and non-executive positions. So I'm going to be working for the HR department, and they are looking for a contractor. I would have expected it to be they're looking for a contractor to do a specific, this department has, you know, something specific, but this is how you figure out this is going to tell you the exact everything they're going to want somebody to do. We don't have time to read all this right now, but you're going to want to read this, because once you read the scope, you're going to know pretty quickly, oh, I can do that. Oh, I know I can do this piece. I've got this consultant that can do this other piece and another consultant to get, so I'll just pull them all together and we can do this entire thing. Or you're going to read this and you're going to say, oh, I can only do, you know, there's what, 12, 13, 15 items they want somebody to do. Well, I can do number 3, 7, and 9. So now I'm going to want to go and find out who really wants to bid on this big thing and see if I can become a sub on their proposal, because I can fulfill these few things, but I really don't have the experience or the connections to do the whole thing. So once you decide whether this is something you can do or not, you're done. You know, you can either say, I'm done, can't do this, go on, let's go look at another one. Or you're going to decide, okay, I think there's something I can do here. If you decide you can do something here, you're going to finish reading the scope of work, and this is all the deliverables. And then someplace here, wow, this is what they're going to recruit for. But I want to go back to the top. And I want to go to the solicitation instructions. There we go. So here, found it right away. This is going to tell me the things I need to know to submit an application. Again, a lot of this, once you read one, you can like, okay, I don't need all that stuff. I can go straight to, there's going to be something here, offer evaluation. This is how they're going to evaluate whether they give me the contract or not. I'm going to look for these evaluation factors. So let me go back up here and do evaluation factors and see if I can find that place. Here we go. So here's what they're going to experience and qualifications is 40 points. 40% of this. Your organization, can you show that you have a depth of organization and you have the experience and the financials, etc. And then 30% experience in recruiting specialty categories. And so I think we saw on the scope of work, the list of the specialty categories. So you're going to go to your Rolodex of all the work you've done before, and you're going to say, oh yeah, I did police officers back in 1935. And you're going to be able to use that as one of your experiences on the application. Okay. Okay. That is a lot of information, and that's just one solicitation. And all I was trying to do was show you how to quickly evaluate whether this even makes sense. And they're going to have the instructions on how to actually write the proposal in there. I want to go quickly to, here is an invitation for bid for Waller Creek Delta construction. So this is a construction process. And we're going to have on this one subcontracting goals. And this is where if you have certification as a woman-owned business or a minority-owned business, that whoever gets the general contract has some goals that they have to find some subs on this work, and they have to have, 1.5% of the subs have to be African American and 2.7 have to be Hispanic, etc. Here is the response date. And the thing that I want to tell you most about, though, for particularly construction meetings, these large ones, not all. This executive recruitment, it does not have a pre-bid meeting to it. Not all contracts do. But this one, this construction one, and most construction ones do have a meeting, a pre-bid meeting. And here's the date for that. It's coming up. And this one is also going to have a site visit, and you have to show up to that site visit to be able to submit a proposal. They want you to see the work, it's construction, and you need to put your eyes on. But oh, you know what? So this meeting's already happened. Both of these meetings have already happened. And still, they haven't put in responses yet. So these are sort of old. But the beauty of having these pre-bids, even if you don't make it to that, is that someplace in the list, sometime a week after the meeting, they're going to have the attendance list, and it's going to be posted. And I have to tell you, these are gold, especially if you're in construction and you're just trying to start out and learn who the GCs are in the community who are applying to things like this, who might have a need for what you're doing. You can get the entire attendance list with contact information for everybody who is thinking about submitting an application for this. And again, it was mandatory to come here. And once this happens and this list is posted, and you know that they have until November 11th to apply, that you can contact every one of these people if you want and say, hey, I'd like to introduce you to my backhoe excavating business, and we want to be considered for your bids. I saw that you were interested in this one. We'd be interested in this one or any bid. Can we come in and sit down and talk to you a little bit about our business and what we're doing and how we might fit in? People, they'll want to put you on their list, but they might not even put you into this particular proposal, but they might want to give you a little piece of work to see how you do, and they give you another little piece of work and see how you do before they put you on their list for these kinds of proposals. Because again, what does the government want? They want people who can perform, and the GC needs performance subs, and so they're going to test you before they put you into this to screw up their government contracts and their ability to do more government contracts, okay? You can see all these people were very interested in this work. So at this point, I'm going to stop, because obviously I work with a lot of people to learn this process, and we honestly, I have a handful of clients I meet with once a month. That's all the time they can figure out. And then once a month, we just start going a little deeper and a little deeper and a little deeper as they learn this process. So with that, I pass it back to you, Tyra. And I don't know if there's questions or if you want to hold questions to the end.
Yes, we're going to hold questions to the end. That was wonderful, Joni. And I'm going to put, I don't know if you're still doing the winning contract.
We don't have the series going on, but I work with people one-on-one to do that.
Okay. So I'm going to put your contact information one more time in the chat. And I really appreciate you saying how you work with business owners one bite at a time, because a lot, and we talked about a little bit about this yesterday. A lot of the pressure comes from, you need to be competitive. You need to know what you're doing. But some of these businesses, especially the, woman-owned, Black-owned, Hispanic-owned, just the ones we see that are suffering from more of the disparities, they can't keep up with the information that's coming at them, let alone break it down, and then get in the game and then network, so it's just like, that's good to know that the incubator, the economic growth business incubator, and especially you are there to help people take things one step at a time. So they
I'm not saying it's easy at all. Just looking, if you talk to Curtis when he's about to come on, I mean, his background is, coming through the military, working with government contracts for decades and decades. If he opened a business tomorrow, he'd be super successful because he's been living in that world, right? If you've never been in that world, it gets harder. Not impossible, but harder.
Yes. Wonderful. Love it. Yeah, and so I'm going to introduce our next presenter. Great job, Joni. And Joni's going to stick around for the panel section later, so you'll get a chance to ask her any questions that you haven't yet. Of course, put your questions in the chat as well. And we all know, Black businesses, this is what this is about right now. So we know Black businesses, most of the time folks come in as the cook, the hostess, the person who's booking people online, you're everything. So we want to take a step back, allow you all to breathe through the understanding that, there's a way to take on this information. There's help out there, there's assistance, so you can become competitive and get to know the procurement process. So right now we have our next presenter coming on by the name of Curtis Mohler, well known in the procurement community. And Curtis is the program director of the actually, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that, because I think you're the regional serves as the Procurement Technical Assistance Center Regional Program Manager. He manages over 38 counties, not over, he manages 38 counties. And today he's going to do an overview of the procurement industry. And I believe, Curtis, would it be fair to say you're coming from a state and federal level? Or just
yeah, local, state, federal, city, county, pretty much everything, but we'll try to cover it all, but mainly federal and state, but we do city and county as well.
Love it. Awesome. I'll stay on for a little bit and then I'll kind of disappear and be in the chat, but welcome, Curtis. So glad to have you, and I'll pass it over to you.
Okay, thank you so much. And thank you so much for the Black Leaders Collective to, again, have the UTSA PTAC. Those are tremendous presentations by Joni Foster. She covered a lot, and I'm just going to try to compliment her as a resource partner. So make sure you connect with her. And of course, there's a lot of great resource partners, stakeholders, and people to support you. So PTAC is just one of those. And I know we've had a great, really 2 weeks under Tyra's leadership. A little bit about the UTSA, and I'm going to try to cover this as quick as I can. It's an overview of procurement. My desire is not to teach an individual presentation, as Joni and other speakers have said, but to give you an overview and kind of give you an idea of what to expect when you enter the procurement markets and how PTAC and others can support you, and a little bit about the PTAC. So I'm going to cover a lot of subjects, but I think all of the individual subjects are very important to give you an overview of, is procurement right for me? Is this something I want to enter in? And that's really my goal, is to give you the information, interpret that, because I know it can be an alphabet soup. I think Joni mentioned that. So if I throw acronyms at you, it's just for the time's sake. I don't mean to confuse you. And I know that Tyra will get you the slides too as well. But a little about the PTAC. We're at the University of Texas at San Antonio. It has 10 centers making up the IED. We assist small and large businesses with cost advising, training, network, in support of local, state, federal, DoD, and large-scale expansion. So our whole goal at the PTAC, or Procurement Technical Assistance Centers across the nation, which there's 96 of them. Some are statewide, some are regional, and that's why they call me a regional manager. I manage a region, or one of the PTACs, 7 PTACs in Texas. We're here to help you. We don't help pre-startups or people entering business or doing the structure sides or the beginning portions of it. We only help people who are already in business, already ready to do government contracting. So we'll forward you to, of course, Joni's great agency and what she's representing and how she can support you, as well as other resource partners, whether it's the SBDC, SBA, VBOC. My grant is 65-35, 65% federal, 35% state match, and I give that money back to you. And now we're under the Department of Defense. We're no longer DLA anymore. That is something new since last time that we discussed. So we're under the Undersecretary of Defense, and real high up there as far as President Biden's initiatives under Mr. Methia. Our mission statement is to provide our clients a wide range of training opportunities, resources, to successfully compete for contracts with local, state, federal, and DoD agencies. We're looking to help you and try to expand. Here's my coverage area. Tyra, I got an update. We added actually 5 more counties, Bastrop, DeWitt, Gonzales, and Caldwell. We already covered Travis, so we're covering more area than ever. So this is the 42 counties I manage. Now, if you're on this call and saying, hey, look, I'm not in one of these areas, no worries. You can reach out to me or Tyra, and I can make sure and direct you to the PTAC in Texas or throughout the country, or you can navigate down below and actually go to the that link and plug in either the state or the county locality. Here's my staff. They make it happen. Tony Pala, Paul Herrera, Tommy Baker, and Linda Georgie. They're wonderful. They do a great job. And here's kind of our impact. I want you to know what we're doing with your tax dollars. That's my responsible end to you, to let you know what we're doing. Of course, you see we did 3,593 engagements. That's both training and advising. 1,331 counseling sessions, and we also hosted 54 events and did 40 collaborations. And the reason why that's important is because we're actually bringing the agencies to you to save you that business development stuff that you wouldn't have to do. And of course, that resulted in $948 million, 27 business expansions, and we had another $71 billion in prime contracts. And that went to woman-owned, service disabled, veteran-owned, and small disadvantaged. And Joni covered something really important. On the federal side, the small disadvantage goal went from 5% to 10%, 11%, excuse me, and now it's 12%. What does that mean to you? More opportunity. More opportunity on the federal side, and all you have to do is elect in SAM.gov. Yes, you are a small disadvantaged business, which all minority businesses are. So tremendous opportunity. 12% is the goal here in 2023. So you want to make sure that you're part of that and engage in that. So there's tremendous opportunities, but you can see this, all this went to these categories of business right here. Just a little bit about overview of the federal procurement. I'm going to cover things that are important to your business, common mistakes and pitfalls, current contracting trends with NAICS codes. I'll cover a little bit about the PSC codes, registration requirements, socioeconomic business certifications, which are very important to leverage, understanding the SAM.gov, the new CMC rulemaking 2.0, the 800-171, which is basically still in play. 172 is coming down the pipe, and capability statements, and then how best to connect with this. So all these things on the overview, I got a lot of subjects to cover. Again, I know it's going to seem like I'm giving you a lot of information. I apologize for that. I just have limited time. Of course, we'll be talking later on the panel, but I know Tyra will release these slides, and you have the ability to follow up with all the speakers. So again, I apologize if it seemed like I'm giving you a lot of information, but I think it's important to go over these things to give you an overview of what to expect. You know, it can be such a confusing process, but not if you unwind it, and not if you don't know where to go. But if you do know where to go, man, that means everything. Okay, things that are important to your business. I break it down this way. I think Joni mentioned some great things on the tips for success. I really how she broke that out. I'm not going to cover those things. I'm going to cover something different. You do have to have your NAICS and PSC codes in the federal market. This is how you sell to the government or speak to the government. Of course, some localities have what they call NIPG codes. They're just fancy ways of where you talk to the government. We can help you identify those, but you definitely need that. That's how you sell to the government. You've heard it, hey, I don't want to be a number. Well, we're not a number, but in a way we do deal with numbers and codes, and that's important. Of course, you have to have a capabilities brief presentation. PTACs have that across the country, teach it. That's just a 411 of the resume of who you are and what your business contains and different things on there. You just like you have a personal resume, you have to have a capabilities presentation briefing. You have to have something that's summarized about your business. It's not your personal experience, it's about the business certifications and different things. And of course, we have a template for that. And then leveraging those. You can have all the certifications you want, but you want to leverage those with the right agencies and know how to talk with them. We can help you with that, of course. But that's important to your business, learning how to leverage the current certifications, whether it's local, state, federal, and then reaching out to the agencies and then bidding on those contracts, as Joni mentioned. I have to be registered in SAM.gov or the System Award Management. That is required for all federal awards. So if you want to get into the federal side of it, that registration is required to win any contracts. And then you have what they call an SBA profile. Now, maybe you're familiar with that, maybe you're not. Think of it as your capability statement, live wire to the world. That's within the SAM registration. So that's something that you definitely need to get updated and keep updated, and that should match your capability statement. How about this, a government pricing sheet? You know, you have an individual pricing sheet. You know, you would go to a restaurant and then go, I think I will have, I want a steak dinner. And they tell you, well, you know, we don't know the price, but yes, we do serve steaks and we do have a steak dinner, but I can't tell you what the price is. Of course, we wouldn't know how to buy it. It's the same thing too, is you want to make sure that you're effectively pricing your products and services within the market and having a pricing sheet. So if you're asked, you know what the value of this. Biggest thing we see is people don't know the value of what the products are. GSA schedules are pretty hot right now. That's how you virtually sell on a platform like Amazon.com. That's been around for many, many years. Consider getting on that since the world is pretty much remote and hybrid. GSA schedules is a contract or FSS schedule that you want to consider getting on so you can sell worldwide through this schedule. You could be sleeping, waking up and drinking a cup of coffee, and you could be making money in the next morning. So it's always nice to do that. CPARs, there was something that Joni mentioned, which is really important, is your evaluations. CPARs is your federal evaluation on a 1 to 5 scale. So I think she mentioned executing a contract, which is so good that she covered that. And that's so important because I think she mentioned, hey, everybody wants to be the GC. Great point. But yet realize that there's a heavy burden on that. And you're going to be evaluated. So it's not just winning the contract, but executing the contract and doing it well and ensuring that you have a good evaluation, because you do have it on a 1 to 5 scale. And then SWOT. I don't mean hitting somebody. I mean taking a SWOT of yourself, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. The hardest thing in the world is assess ourselves. We don't like to do it personally and professionally, but it's necessary for a business owner. And that's, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are my opportunities? What are my threats out there? I'm going to make threats like regulatory threats or new competition. You have to do that as an owner. You have to be able to be introspective and look at yourself honestly to get better. And then research the market. If you don't have anything to sell to the government, and it's not demand, and you can have the best door, but if they need a window, your door is not going to matter. They need a window. The same thing with an IT system or anything, new technology or defense innovation that you're doing, whatever it is on the medical side. It's important that you have a market for it that needs to buy it. Make sure you search procurement opportunities. That was mentioned earlier. I'm not going to cover that too much, but making sure you're looking for solicitation. Solicitation is a fancy word for opportunities to bid. And then knowing your competition. Who's in your area? Who does what you do? Do you do the same things? Well, you may consider adjusting to fire and basically going to different sectors. And then teaming agreements. Have you considered teaming or subcontracting? You don't always have to be the GC or the prime. It's always good to team up and get some subcontract opportunities, learn the system, learn the game, as we say, and then work your way up to be a prime. Sometimes it's better to do that flow. Time management. How are you managing your day? Are you waking up in the morning with really no plan, saying, I wonder what I'm going to do today? Well, that's a plan to fail. You have to make sure to manage your time well. We actually have something that we give clients. It takes them through the day that I've used on the big side, on the procurement side. It just helps people be effective during their day. A lot of times we can just have no plan and kind of just aimlessly go things and, look at here, it is September 30th again. So really ask yourself, what are you accomplishing? The common mistakes and pitfalls, I don't want to cover too much of this because Joni did a tremendous job on that. Not being the 51% majority owner on the federal side, that's the death of you, because you can't get any certifications, meaning the majority owner, and it's going to be difficult for you to leverage any type of contracts or win certifications such as 8A and different things. So that's troublesome on the several sides, on the contracting side, on the business side, and of course with your employees. Hiring, I was going to say the triple F's, friends, families, and fools, but of course we might have women and children present, so I'm going to say friends, family, and acquaintances. So what I mean by that is you want to hire people that can bring value to your company, not just acquaintances, friends, and families, and trying to help somebody out. This is your business. This is your livelihood. You're fighting for your life. And it's so competitive out there. I think that was mentioned. And you need to give yourself every opportunity, bring value into your company, hire people that are going to bring value to your company. This is a business where you're trying to make money first, then establish the legacy later. Not having a vision, too many products or services, hey, I can do everything. I see a lot of people putting a lot of NAICS and PSC codes and a lot of services they just can't do. You want to focus first on the things you can provide. That's so important, and then to move on from there and maybe expand. So make sure you can actually perform them and have a vision. Not making a daily plan to succeed, having no goals. Believe it or not, we see this a lot. I'm telling you that a lot of times to be successful in the procurement, whether local, state, federal, city, county, DOD, it makes sure that you have a plan to succeed. What are your goals for the 6 months or the year? And then not having an understanding of doing business is not free. It's going to cost you something. Either employees, certifications. Most of it's free, of course, but there are things that you have to invest time, money, and equipment, and of course in your labor. There's a franchise tax. I mentioned earlier, a lot of people don't realize they don't have to pay franchise fee if they're not over that particular threshold amount. So kind of get with their CPA and taxes. Joni did a great job, so I'm not going to cover that. On the PSC and FSC codes, these are your product codes and service codes. Look at that link, identify how you can sell to the government and start speaking their language. Very important to you. This is how you speak to the government. I want to talk a little bit about trending NAICS codes real quick. These are the things that are actually trending. since COVID, and you can see a lot of things that are really out there: transportation, logistics, remote IT, cybersecurity, armed security guard patrol. New construction has always been steady. These are just some of the things that are available to you out there. I mean, this is not the sole list right here, but I want to give a snapshot. Here's some top NAICS codes. And again, I know that they're going to forward those out, but you can see you got computer programming, you got facilities management, of course, janitorial, professional services, facility support, medical, dental, pretty much everything is covered. But these are the top NAICS codes or services that are in demand. So you want to look at these and try to align yourself if you can on these. Registration for the government for SAM.gov, April 4th, 2022, you now need a UEI, not a DUNS number. The DUNS number's gone away. So when you go to SAM.gov, you on everything on the legacy system, we'll talk about that. You can actually go there, and all those systems you see right there were formerly separate systems: SAM.gov, ERSRS, which is the subcontracting system, FPDS, FAPIS, and CPARS. Again, I'm going through them alphabet soups, but they're just systems that they use. They're all on one site called sam.gov. That's all you need to know. You don't have to go to different sites. You just need one login. So everything you need is on what they call the legacy system. And to get a UEI, that's one of your first steps to establishing to get registered in SAM. So that's going to be important for you. And I put the fact sheet on how to do that. How to obtain it, I put a little bit of information on how to get that. That's important if you want to get sam.gov. Again, that replaces the DUNS number. And of course, I even put how to get registered and the things you're going to need to get registered. So what to expect, because I know you're thinking, well, what do I need to get registered in SAM? Here it is right here. If you snapshot it, that's all you're going to need. So when you do registrations, that's how they can help you, but you're going to need that information. A little bit about sam.gov. Confusion sometimes sets in when you're doing certifications. You see these listed right here. When you get within the certification, you can select your certification, self-certify. So it's on the honor system. The exception is the bottom two right here, which actually is a certification process. So even though you update it in SAMS, it is a certification process through SBA.gov. And of course, we can assist you, but I just want to let you know, you elect these in SAMS yourself. And this is important because you want to leverage all the advantages you have on the federal side. So make sure that you're getting SAM.gov so you can win those contracts on the small disadvantage side in whatever category that you fit in. And the socioeconomic business certifications, of course, this is on the federal side. These are all certifications that you have to obtain through a separate process. That's all on SBA.gov. And so you want to take a look at that. Very important ones, of course, 8A is on the advanced level, but those are your federal certifications. And of course, this is your state and local certifications. I know we've hosted the Austin SMBR. They can talk about their program, City of Austin, of course, South Central Regional Certification Agency, North Central Regional Certification, City of Houston. Every locality has what they call local certifications. You want to get those because they would apply to city and county procurement, such as Bear County here, Travis County up in Austin, or whatever they're at. There's certifications for the particular county, city, or locality. So they're separate from the federal side. You're like, well, which one should I get? All of them. Because again, they're different markets. And you're trying to get into each market, local, state, federal, city, county, and then take those certifications, capture them, and leverage them. They're all free to you. So you want to take advantage of them. Here's some more right here that's just in the South Central Regional, Texas Regional Certification Agency that you're eligible for. So you have that right there. And then understanding the legacy system. It was, I went over the sam.gov, and again, I know it's a lot of information, but this is very important that you know what I'm talking about when I say sam.gov. And this is called the Integrated Award System. The purpose of it was to reduce barriers for government business, increasing transparency, and your accountability of the board's process, reducing reporting burden, and really it's a single multiple site platform to help you. These are all the systems that are on sam.gov. So all you have to do is get one login. I encourage you to do that. Of course, we talked about the CPAR, so that's important to you. It also has the federal awardee performance integration system. That's how you check that if you're not on, trust me, you don't want to be on there and have any delinquencies or hit. These are people they're all defaulted for contract, or the government is flagged as not in good standing. So if you have a 0 there, that's good. But I encourage you to use that. It's free to you. That way you know who you're doing business with. It's called FAPIS. And of course, FPDS we use a lot, which is the Federal Procurement Data System. Now that's very important. You know what that is? That means, where did the money go? What were the goals for the individual agencies? All of them, federal, DOD. You're going to be able to see it. And then how did it break down? So how do you use that? You go to whatever your category is, whether it's 8A, minority owned, woman owned, small disadvantage, whatever it is, service disabled, veteran, and you find out what are the agencies that are friendly to you. So you see, we're using intelligence to basically capture contracts, and then taking that business intelligence and then leveraging that to get that in the market. Here's the procurement process right here. Of course, it's a need is identified, a solicitation requirement is numbered, and then determine what category it's going to be. Is it going to be LPTA, lowest price, technically acceptable, best value, or is it going to be another one? And then of course it's put within the process, and then solicitation is posted. Bids are sent through you all, through the offers, and then they're received, they're evaluated, either they're ranked, if it's the best value, or if it's lowest price, it's going to go to the lowest bidder as long as they're technically acceptable. And then it's going to come back out through the wage determination check. And then of course it's going to be awarded and then assigned in evaluation in the CPAR. So really seems like a complicated system, but it really isn't. They're really just basic processes. So I always get, hey, what is the procurement process? What is the solicitation process? Can somebody tell me? Well, you can snapshot this and it's going to let you know exactly what it is. It's really not as complicated as I think. I think the complicated part, of course, is bidding on it and then waiting for the award. There's the actual system right there, the home page where you actually create sign in or log in, and everything I mentioned is right here, even wage determinations. So let's say you're doing a service contract, an SCA contract, service contract, and not, or even for your DBAs, your Davis-Bacon contracts, of course, there'd be, even though that's in construction, you would go to the wage determination for the locality or where the place of performance is, and you can find out what the actual wage determinations are. So everything's there for you. A couple things you want to know about rulemaking. This is very important, what I'm about to tell you. You've heard of the NIST 171. Everybody's heard that, the CMMC, which 1.0 went away. Now, what happened was a lot of people thought, well, you know, there's no more cybersecurity requirements. Well, we just hosted cybersecurity training today with Totem Technologies, and everybody, with the exception of people that do off-the-shelf products, or what they call COTS, have to get the NIST 800-171, which is right now be interim compliant. PTACs can help with that across the country. And that is no cost to you on the self-assessment side, but know that the 2.0 is coming down the pipe, and it's going to, and what that means basically in a nutshell is to win contracts on the federal DOD side, or to keep your contracts, you've got to be interim compliant. And NIST 800-172 and CMMC 2.0 are coming down the pipe, and of course that's based on the DFARS. I threw a lot at you. So what does that mean? It just means that you have to have a system security plan. You have to take your scores, upload them in the SPUR system. It's really not as complicated as I'm making it on the self-assessment side. Again, it's free to you through the PTACs, but it's necessary. It's very important that you kind of fall in line with that. You not wait, because of course it could affect your contracts. Of course, there's different types of information, FCI, CUI. Think of about 80,000 contractors are on 250,000 are on FCI, and about 80,000 are on CUI. Think of CUI as a subset of FCI. And that's just the type of information that you would use. So most of us would be handling FCI. Some of us on the technology side would be handling CDI and CTI. And of course, if you're dealing with international stuff, that'll be ITAR products and things like that. And then there's different levels, 1, 2, and 3. I don't really want to go that too much into that. But the bottom line is you make sure that you want to get self-assessment certified. Levels 2 and 3 are going to require a self-assessment on the through a third party, which is a cost. And then of course, the third level is a combination of government and consultant certifying. So, okay, how do we assist? This is what we do. We provide the requirements to you, the self-assessment, give you a template, step-by-step procedures. The 14, go over the 14 cybersecurity groups. Some people say 17. You can say 17 family members, I guess you could say. You have 110 subsets, and of course the 14 or 17 family groups. And of course, what do those scores mean? You put the plan, action, milestones, and then upload and spurs. So if you was to say, Curtis, put that in a nutshell. This is what's going to be required right here on this slide. And I know Tyra will send that out. Of course, PTAC support this, but very important to your business. Cybersecurity, and the whole goal is to protect your business from being attacked. So no matter if you're in the IT world or not, this would still apply to you because it applies to every business. All kinds of businesses are being attacked by cyber pirates. Last couple things, the marketing capability briefing. Of course, it's in the agency's best interest to do market research. So that's in your favor, PowerPoint 10. Of course, you see the regulatory perspective. You say, why would they want to meet with us? It's actually a FAR clause. So it's important that you tell the agencies, hey, look, according to the FAR, market research is something you want to do. And of course, having a good capability statement. That's the 4-1 of your business. You see that we have a template for that. Make sure you develop that and put those particular things that are important to your business, and then have the ability to sell those things. And we even stick in a little introduction there, so feel free to use that. Having a capability statement is essential for every section of a business. Then talk about a little bit about PTAC services as we start to close the presentation. I know I've covered a lot, so apologize for so much material, but I'll try to fit with the time. Of course, if you would come to the PTAC, we determine suitability for contracting, help you with business technical reviews, see where you're at, where you want to go, help you identify any certification registrations, and then support you on that, help you leverage, I mentioned that. Proposal preparation. Joni did a great job on this. On the federal side, think of it as sources sought, that's the beginning part to determine who can do it, and if it should be a set aside. And then RFI, which, what is it? Basically, that's what the government's asking, request for information. RFQ, request for quote, what's the cost of what that was? And then RFP, that's go time, request for proposal. Just to think of the process of that way. So if I could give you a snapshot, it's those 4 things. You're like, well, where are those things at? Well, they're on SAM.gov. Any opportunity over $25,000 on the federal side, and of course, any agency is going to have their own requirements. So that's how it is in a nutshell, a little bit. Of course, GSA schedules, that's nothing but a contract, a 5-year IDIQ contract. We talked about the federal systems training, capability statement, CPARs, and these are all the things that we cover, so I don't want to go too much into it. What you need to go out to PTAC is we created a 7-phase system that only we created, which is a contracting roadmap. That's just designed to assist you. Not every PTAC has that. We do. We've created that, and we've been building that out for probably about at least 10 years. I've been there 11 years, so we're here to help you. A couple upcoming events, you see them right there, and I don't want to bore too much of these, but we're hosting the Central Texas Business Center, and Barb Fox from the Texas Department of Insurance. This is a webinar. This applies to everybody in Bell County, especially in the Austin area, so you want to connect and sign up for that. Meet all the ocean requirements and other things, how the Texas Business Center can help you, and that's a webinar. And of course, all these are webinars. We're going to be hosting the SBA and Army Futures Command if you're interested in doing business with the SBA, and Defense Innovation Army Futures Command. And of course, we're even hosting the Hub Austin on the DBE side. So we're excited about hosting them. And of course, the Bexar County Conference, that applies to everybody in the country. There's probably 4,000 people that attend that. You want to attend that. So make sure you connect to those events. There's our website. I know that Tyra will give the information. All our trainings are live under this training tab right here. So you can connect. They're all free to you. There is no charge. And of course, connect and follow us on Facebook. Like and follow us is the most important thing you can do, because we're posting events that are important to you to connect. So I think that's pretty much it. I'm sorry if I felt I was going too fast, but I want to make sure to honor everybody's time. And I know it's a lot of information and everything, so I don't want to do information overload. So I apologize if it seemed that way. So I'll be open to questions, or if you want me to stop sharing, I can do that too as well.
I wish I had one of those like, This is so good, so good. And for those of you who are still hanging on, that's what makes you great. Just want to shout out, like, y'all are going to be making millions here soon. So way to hang in there. Curtis, phenomenal information, mind-blowing. And you showed us ways to apply it. You told us that most of the sessions are free and that there's some local things happening. And so I just want to major shout out to Joni and Curtis. Today I'm going to do my little confetti, whatever that is. And great job, y'all. Pertinent information, we need it. And then it sounds like you all are there. You're going to be there to help us break it down when people show up. So the next portion of our session before we wrap things up today will be our panel discussion. It's basically community feedback, question and answer segments. Please put your questions in the chat, or you can come off mic and camera to ask questions. And I'm gonna put the panelists' names and information in the chat, and then I'm also gonna voice it. So just in case you all don't, if I'm also speaking, if I'm speaking a mile a minute, then you all can save the chat and have the panelists' information as well. So you're about to get quite a bit of information, y'all. Just give me a minute to post this. Okay. So the panelists today for Q&A, again, thank you to our presenters, Ms. Joni Foster and Mr. Curtis Mohler. Ms. Joni is with the Economic Growth Business Incubator, and Mr. Curtis Mohler is with the Procurement Technical Assistance Center. Both giant resources in the community. They will be a part of the panelist discussion today. And you all have, seasoned industry professionals on the line here to answer questions. So please take advantage of this time. With Curtis here, Joni, we have Miss Sandra Fabian Ramirez with the City of Austin Small Business Minority Resources. We have Hervé Creighton here for a panel with the City of Austin. That's not right. You're not with the purchasing office anymore. That's some old notes there, but I believe the finance department, I want to say Hervé. We have Miss Felicia Shaw, with the City of Austin Small Business Minority Resources. Miss Patricia Bournain, I said that maybe right, with the City of Austin Small Business Minority Resources. We have Miss Maya Ingram with the statewide hub program. She's the manager over there, and they're part of the procurement division. And then we have Miss Lauren Ott with the statewide hub program. She's a marketing and outreach coordinator there, and also a part of the procurement division. Those are our panelists today. And okay, great. And they're on the screen. I had my other screen up, so great to see y'all. The team. So by all means, now is the Q&A portion. If you can put your question in the chat, or pop on. And if I don't hear or see anything from anyone, I'll just go ahead and answer, ask some facilitator questions to get the ball rolling.
So Tyra, it does look like there's a couple of questions.
Okay. Oh, great.
I can read them out if you want.
Okay. Yes.
So the first one is from Martha. She asks, are the certifications only good for the county obtained, or are the certifications only good for the county obtained, or can they be used in other counties? For example, Austin African American Business, can it be used in the San Antonio or Bexar County?
Sure, I'll take that certification question, Patricia. So the MBE and the WBE is the minority owned and the women owned businesses. Those are specific to the City of Austin. So they are for local funded projects. Every city is going to have their own local program, but the City of Austin does recognize DBE from any city. So the DBE is the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, and that is for federal funded projects through the Department of Transportation. So the DBE and the ACDB are the only certifications that are good throughout the whole state of Texas. So if you're DBE in a city, you do not have to reapply for another city in Texas for the DBE program, but you will have to reapply for the local program with the city for their local MBE or WBE programs.
Thank you, Sandra. And Devon Darden also asked, how do we go about getting those certifications? But I think, I'm not sure if you want to go into the application process, or Devon, if that was enough information for you, let us know.
So this is Maya Ingram, if I can add to that a little bit. So the state has its own hub certification, historically underutilized business program. There are some cities and counties that adopt our rules and use our certifications. However, that just depends on those individual local governments. We also have memorandums of agreement with different organizations, City of Austin being one. So if you certify with the City of Austin and get approved by the City of Austin, with one of their certifications, you can request a state hub certification and they will review your file to make sure you meet our qualifications and give you a free hub certification. Different certifications, depending on where you get them, they may have a cost to them. The statewide hub is free. And so when you work with any of our memorandum of agreement organizations on certifications, you may have to pay for their certification, but they will give you a hub for free if you meet the qualifications.
And to
Thank you,
piggyback
Maya.
on Maya, I did put the link if you are interested in getting hub certified in the chat. And then I'll also put the eligibility requirements if you want to review those as well.
So good.
Hi, this is Martha. Can I jump in? Because the answers are coming and my wheels are turning and the questions are coming and I'll be typing in the chat and not getting everything out because I'm so excited. So I do have a hub certification, but if I'm looking in rural areas like Lexington or Elgin, in those areas, it sounds like you're saying I would still have to go and certify as a minority business owner or woman business owner for even the rural areas. Is that correct? Am I hearing that correctly?
That's correct. Hub certification is generally for state agencies and state universities. The local governments like the cities and the counties and the school districts, they can adopt our rules. It depends on what they decide to do and use our certifications, but it's not a requirement for them. It's only a requirement on the state level for ours.
Wonderful. Okay, and Miss Sandra, were you gonna jump in as well? I could be wrong, but
Yes.
Okay.
So the city of Austin, we certify for 5 different counties. And the counties that we certify are Travis County, Bastrop County, Williamson County, Hayes County, and Caldwell County. So I know you mentioned Elgin and a little bit of the rural counties. If they are located in any of those 5 counties that I mentioned, you would apply with the city of Austin. And we cover those rural areas in our certification. And as Maya said, we do have an MOA with the state hub department. So when you apply for MBE or WBE, on the application, there's a box that you check that you would also like to be reviewed for hub. And that's how we approve you for hub as well as the local programs as well.
This is Curtis. I want to add to that too, and that's a great point. I know, and I think the North area, they have North Central, I think Texas Certification Agency, right? You guys have been around a long time, longer than me. And of course, Charles Johnson covers the South Central Texas Certification Agency, because I think the question was counties. I'm not for sure. I think Charles covers 15 or 17 counties in the South Central. So to answer the question, if you got this South Central Texas Regional Certification Agency, those are all those minority and veteran certifications that would cover those counties. I think it's 17. The North Central, you would have to look on the website. I don't want to speak for that. That would be up north near the Metroplex, I think. You guys would probably know that more than me. And of course, as you said, the state. So hopefully that answers a lot of the question you don't have to register in any of those individual counties. It might be covered, and I think it's on the website. I looked at it, I didn't real quick, but I think it's 17 in the South Central or down here.
Yes, correct, Curtis. The city of Austin is part of the TUCP, which is the Texas Unified Certification Program. And the other entities that you mentioned, South Central, North Central, the Houston area, they are all part of the TUCP. So if you go to the TUCP website, you can find out which agencies cover which areas. And then they'll have direct links as well to the different cities to apply for certifications for those counties in those areas.
I'm also going to put in the chat a list of our memorandum of agreement organizations. Those are organizations that we have an agreement with that they can provide the hub certification. So I'll put that in the chat too if you want to look. It's kind of based on where you're located in Texas. So if you are in different areas, that would be a good resource to look at as well to see which organization might be the most helpful to you.
Tyra, I saw another question in the chat that I don't think we addressed, so I'll read it. It says, I am in the health, it's from Doran Horsfall. I am in the health and fitness industry and looking for funding to help me scale. What recommendations can the panel provide to get grants, etc.?
Well, I can take that. Doran, call me, Joni Foster at EDBI. And while there are so few grants to help start businesses, that really isn't much of a thing. There are a lot more grants to help, particularly for COVID, to keep businesses going, but you have to be going to get involved in that. If you're trying to start or grow, there are places to get loans and low-cost loans. But what we do here at EDBI, we can help you put together your business plan or polish your business plan and look at your financial projections so that when you go to a people fund or a lift fund or even a bank or credit union, you're prepared to answer their questions. So please go ahead and give me a call or send me an email. I think it's in the chat. We have a contract with the city of Austin at this point to provide coaching and classes to folks. So our services are at no cost to you. So please give us a call and we'll see if we can help you.
Okay, I will. Thank you.
Thanks for that hawk eye, Patricia. I can't see anything. I'm gonna mix a little facilitator questions in just to get some targeted questions, and then we'll hop back in the chat, and we still have a little bit of time. So we did want to bring up questions around equity. That's a huge part of the Black Leaders Collective work. Just kind of maybe if not redesigning, then getting to the heart of what are some barriers to either access or information, just what's going on with the Black business community that we need to come to the table with and discuss. So as far as equity in the procurement process, and this is for everybody, what would that look like? Do you all see any strides in the current climate today? I know, Curtis, you had mentioned set aside goals have increased, which is great. So anything along those lines as far as creating equity in the procurement process, or maybe some ideas as to what that could look like for folks who just feel like they just can't break in?
I'll take a stab at that, T. This is Felicia Shaw. I'm with the City of Austin Small and Minority Business Resources Department. And and for our department, right, that's what we do. One of our missions is to provide equal access to small minority businesses, so women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, right, DBEs. so that they get that piece of the pie. And what we do is basically when the city has competitive procurements, so whether that's goods and services or whether that's the capital projects, right? Streets and libraries and all of those kind of things, the airport, right? All of those things. We look at those solicitations to see if we have the ability to establish goals, right? And so we can do that in a couple of ways. Because we are a race-based and gender-based program, we have the ability to look and say, hey, can we establish ethnic goals, right? So we can look and say, we're going to have goals for African-American businesses and Hispanic-owned businesses and Native Asian businesses and women-owned businesses, right? Or we do all those things. We look at the scopes of work. We look at subcontracting abilities. We look at the value of the project, right? And as those solicitations are issued, right, there is an onus on prime contractors and prime consultants to look at those areas of the solicitation, and we provide what we call at the City of Austin an availability list. And so they are required to contact these firms, right? This is a list of people who've gone through this certification process that Sandra just talked about. People who are able to provide, right, the services that the solicitation is calling for. And so those folks either have to go through the process of developing a team to meet the goals of the solicitation or demonstrating good faith effort to do so, right? So that means when these certified firms are contacting primes, right, and submitting their bids, right, you're doing things like you're negotiating in good faith with them, right? You're following up with them. If you're not going to use their bid, right, you tell them why, right? So it's all of those things. We always encourage our subs, right, our certified firms, who a lot of them are subs, right? But our goal is to grow their capacity so that they can be primes, right? We tell them, go to pre-bid meetings. I think Joni talked about that earlier. Go to the pre-response meetings. 9 times out of 10, the winner, right, the person who's going to be awarded this contract is in the room. And it really is about relationship building, right? Get your face out there. Have your elevator speech ready. This is what I do, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Prime, right? And so it's really about building the relationship. So that's my 2 cents on that.
And I can cover the federal. That was well said. I can agree with that more. On the federal side, I'll just cover, and I did mention that one of the best things that's happened is with the Build Back Better program, they increased that small disadvantage. My goodness, from 5% to 12%. Which, you know, I just Myra knows I was on a panel with her up in Austin, and she announced it just went to 12%. That's a heck of an increase. So now we're seeing mandated on the federal side that you will use small disadvantaged business. Matter of fact, it's part of the incorporated in the federal goals. So that's one side, making sure the goals are there so there's more opportunity. And of course, they made that federal congressional law now. Think of the federal government as a 23% breakdown, and many of you guys know this. And then that's broken down into the different areas, whether that's small disadvantage, which is 12%, woman-owned, maybe 9%, veteran, maybe 5%, service disabled, excuse me, and then veteran-owned. Usually hub zone falls within about 3%. But that's very important. And of course, you have woman-owned too as well. And with those goals, that mandates, as Felicia was saying, that they be awarded to and meet those goals. Not just pick anybody, but let's ensure that we're making equity in the process on the federal side. So I think there's been, because Tyra, I think you asked a broad question, what's happening in the federal arena? I know it's really happening. Not only that, I'm seeing great strides on that. I think Joni had put up, remember that solicitation with the percentage breakdowns. You see either in local certification, local solicitations And Felicia, you had mentioned it. When you go to pre-bid, a lot of the pre-bid packets, I know for the city of San Antonio as well, even it says, 25% past performance, 25% must have a MBE or ABE. So I like it that the cities, the counties, the federal side are ensuring that not only the primes are being awarded to small disadvantaged minority companies, but they're demanding in the subcontracting, as Felicia mentioned, that, hey, look, not only is it going to be mandated, but we expect you to find a veteran-owned, woman-owned, minority-owned company. I like that, what you said. So I think that to answer your question, Tyra, I think there's been great strides in, what's the right word? I guess enforcing, I guess you could say, the existing things, because I don't think it's so much the percentages, it's making it enforced and ensuring that all the agencies and we as service providers really encourage that to happen, if that makes sense, what I'm saying.
Yes. Yeah, and we talked about accountability enforcement a little bit yesterday too. Ms. Sandra was there, Reve, and Mr. Elton Price. And because sometimes, especially with the state of Texas, defining good faith, if you do, as a Black business, if you finally do get a chance to show up because the bandwidth has freed up a little bit to show up to a meeting, because normally you're doing everything else in the business more often than not, you might do all the networking, but people smile and shake your hand, but know who they're already going to work with. So sometimes good faith can be not deceptive, but it's just like, how well is that working for new subcontractors or disadvantaged subcontractors? You're already coming in with no real track record, but trying to get that. So if you do have the time to network, that is good that there are accountability measures in place in case the primes don't really want to mingle with you, even though you've put your best foot forward. So yeah, yes, Joni.
In terms of equity lens, how to think about this, I think that there's a reality of the size of your business is going to dictate where you can make any inroads at all into government contracts. And the more local it is, the more potential that there are smaller government contracts. And Reeve, maybe you can talk to us about what ends up on the procurement page of Austin Finance online, because I believe you're going to tell us that it's anything $50,000 or over, but there are contracts for less than $50,000. And those are sort of more like testing kind of contracts that if you are a business that really your revenue is less than, I'm going to say $100,000 a year, but really it could be even less than $200,000 a year. There's this threshold before you really are ever going to get into government contracts over $50,000. And I bet Curtis could tell you what the revenue is for folks trying to get into his federal contracts. Because if I read your slide right, you worked with like 27 companies, got almost $1 billion of work. Well, that's like $30 million contracts each. If somebody who doesn't have $500,000 of revenue right now isn't on their way to get one of those contracts. So you really have to be realistic about who your company is and where you sit in the food chain of these government contracts. And if you haven't hit the $100,000 threshold, there might be some ways to get some smaller contracts, but it's going to be really hard. You got to build your business first.
Or go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a great point that Joni makes. And that's why I kind of mentioned the subcontracting strategies that I think, Joni, you mentioned it again, everybody wants to be the GC, but what we do is we meet businesses at every level, whether it's small, large, all that, and then try to build them up. But I think the biggest thing is, I think you mentioned it, is that encourage them to start off with smaller contracts or medium-sized contracts, $100,000 to $800,000, capturing that and then building that towards getting a prime. And before you know it, I've been here 11 years, and some of the people you may recognize, Tim Porter, Jose Sandoval, all they started really small. And now, of course, they're Fortune 500, Tim Porter is, and Jose Sandoval, and a lot of these guys. So it took time to go up there. But, and I could just name a whole bunch of other people too. And I think the key to their success was doing the processes. Does that make sense? If you know the processes, which is really, I think, what the PTAC does. We coach, guide, train, direct. I think Joni had mentioned it. Ultimately, the business owner is responsible for the success. But I think service providers were part of that success and educate them on how to do it. You know, if I can educate you on the intricacies of what I just mentioned in the presentation and give you the knowledge to do it, you can achieve anything. And breaking across all the barriers and bringing people together is really what we do. And it's the essence of what we do every day. So I think between all of us collectively, you know, they could put goals and standards, but I think down in our level, in a way, as service providers, the way I look at it is we kind of hold that accountable. Does that make sense? You guys know what I'm talking about. As agencies, we have the privilege to meet with the owners and also to work with the agencies and ensure that, hey, is this really happening? You know, our voice will be heard, you know, because we've got that, I guess we could say, as they say in the song, we got their respect, you know, and I think that's key for us to be vocal to ensure that, yes, this is what it says on paper, but how's that happening? How's that translating? So I think we're part of that solution too, just encouraging that.
Yes. Yeah. And so it sounds like you got to make sure you stay in that hustle mode, build relationships, especially with the people on this panel. And then if you're undercapitalized, which is typically the stereotypical plight of a disadvantaged business in the beginning, the relationship factor that was mentioned, really sink into if the prime, you know, if you don't have the capacity to keep showing work because you have to figure out all the other things to keep your business open, then pursuing that prime over the course of months, years, really building a deeper relationship with them so trust can be built. That might be what inevitably gets you in the door, like the panel has been saying so eloquently. So yes.
And Tyra, can I build off of what you were saying too about the good faith effort? So we have been getting this feedback. It seems more often lately that the good faith effort is, you know, that agencies play favorites and it's hard to get in with the state procurement because it is a good faith effort system, not a set aside program. But like Curtis was saying, and Tyra, like you're saying, it is all about building relationships and networking. And we are working really hard with agencies to create opportunities for hubs to reach those hub coordinators at agencies. We do lots of presentations to share these resources and be transparent about how to give yourself a better chance of responding to those bids and winning those bids. So I just wanted to say to, you know, our vendors on this call, like reach out to us. We do one-on-one trainings. We're at events. We're constantly posting events too. I'll post our event calendar. It really is a great opportunity when you can attend these events and actually meet a hub coordinator and create that relationship. Curtis is absolutely right. It is all about building that network. And you also get to network with other small businesses. And I always think that's a great opportunity to learn skills. You might meet another business that has been really successful in the state government procurement process, and you can learn from another small business as well as these agencies. And then we always have like PTAC centers like Curtis will come, or SBDC centers. And then even agencies will present as well and go through the procurement process. So you're not having to struggle to kind of read minds and read between the lines, because we know it's a lot. Curtis said multiple times, like, we use acronyms. I've been with the government for 7 months and I'm still really struggling with the acronyms, and I try not to use them because I know it's kind of like confusing when we start doing it. So I actively have to think not to use them. But I just want to say, like, reach out to us. We're here for you. We're your advocate to be successful in the procurement process. I'll put both of our calendar links in here. We always post about events that we're at, and it's either like we're speaking or we're co-sponsoring these events. And then we also post like what our partners at PTAC centers or City of Austin, or MOAs, when they host events, we'll list those there as well. So I recommend, if you can, just bookmark that link on your web pages, and that way you can just keep up with it. I'm accepting event requests every day, and I'm posting on it every day as well. So just keep an eye on that. Don't be discouraged. It is a process. We know there's red tape. We know there's frustration, but building those relationships really will pay off in the end. And we're here to help facilitate that as much as we can.
Phenomenal. Yeah, government contracts build wealth. Yes. Sorry, Patricia.
Oh, no, you're great, Tyra. I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Patricia Bournet, and I am a business process consultant with the City's Small and Minority Business Resources Department. I am a part of our strategic services unit, and we perform outreach and events. And I will also drop our email, or not email, I'm sorry, I'll drop our website in the chat. We post our events that we're either partnering with other agencies or that we host. And we have a Facebook page where we also showcase some of our events and other activities. I can't stress it enough, and I agree with all of the presenters here, you know, just networking is key for contracting and being successful and trying to obtain those contracts with the city and other agencies. So thank you for having us participate. I'm really happy to be here.
Thank you for being here. Like, what? And of course, this is down the line. I'm always going to push the envelope, but I also want to one day talk about language and some of the scopes of work. But I want to bring it back to the audience and not eat up all the time. Any other additional audience questions that have come up since we've been talking about the process of procurement, or where maybe any pitfalls you all may, the audience you have been going through that you want to air out, get some advice on? Yes.
This is Martha again. I'm sorry, I don't want to take up all the time. I mean, I just dropped this question in the chat because this is also new to me, but after hearing your perspective on so many different things, especially with equity, my question was, are there industries that are not a fit for any type of local or government contracts, like real estate, outside of construction? Would there be a need to even try to get a contract if you have a real estate company or trying to provide housing? That's kind of where I'm coming from.
You know, I can respond just a little bit. I'm sure there's other folks at the city who would be better. You know, local, state, federal, they all have different needs. When I think about real estate, you know, one of the things you can do on Austin Finance Online is to search for the NACI codes, like Curtis was talking about. You find the NACI codes for real estate, and there could be 3 or 4 or 5 of them that you would want to look under, and then see how often there have been contracts and solicitations using those codes. So you can do a little research to see how often this thing comes up. I don't know how to do that at the federal level, if that's possible, but yeah, I'll pass this on.
I did have some thoughts on that too. Guess who we just hosted Tuesday? And I learned a lot. The Opportunity Home, which used to be the San Antonio Housing Authority. And what I learned from there, and I knew a little bit, I knew they did construction, alteration, real property, but Gloria Perez and their team over there, Mr. Yayala, you know how they give a brief. You guys know how PTACs collaborate. We allow them to do a presentation, and they do real estate contracts, alarm detection, alteration of real property, pretty much everything, things that you wouldn't think about that I learned. You know, a lot of times when we host agencies, you know this, we learn just as much as the clients do, because that's the purpose of it. It's for the PTACs to learn what the agencies do so we can better work together. But it's also so that we can better help them, but to see what's available and gives it in their eyes. So I can tell you that San Antonio, or excuse me, Opportunity Home, which used to be Saha, they actually have real estate contracts, and that would be on the local side right here. Can't speak for the other localities across Texas, but I learned that this week. I knew about a lot of it. So that's one. And yes, on the federal side, it's pretty limited on real estate contracts. You don't see a lot of those. I would say that's more, as Joni said, a local city thing, but I did want to put that out because that's something I learned this week. I mean, we're always learning and growing, so that was great to hear.
Yes.
So on a state level, that would be kind of something you would look at for the universities. The universities tend to buy land and sell land and lease land. The Texas Facilities Commission would lease space if any state offices need something. They're responsible for that. And then the General Land Office is responsible for state-owned real estate. So there could be something there. And there could be other agencies that would have something. Our hub report would have the same thing, that you could do a search through there and look at all the purchasing codes and find out who's buying something like that. And then one other quick thing is, you all have talked about the NACE codes, and that's something that the federal and a lot of local governments use, but the state uses the NIGP codes. And so on our website is a link to those. And if you contact us, we can give you a little cheat sheet that kind of sort of works with comparison of those two numbers.
So good.
Yes, I put in the chat some of the common real estate NIGP codes. And these are known on the City of Austin website as commodity codes. And the way that you can go and search is by keyword. So you can type in any type of keyword: real estate, land, appraisals, any type of keyword for the scope of work that you provide. And it'll just drill up a list of all of the codes that are applicable. And you want to go and choose as many of those codes to your profile as you can, because those are going to be the solicitations that you're going to get included on once they come out with those NIGP codes, the scope of work, commodity codes. And then also on the certified side, those are the codes that you're actually going to request to be certified in. So that's a good way to look them up, is by using the keyword search.
Make sure y'all save the chat, Ms. Reve.
Yes, so this came up yesterday, actually, people asking about real estate. And it turns out over the past 2 years, the city has actually done quite a bit of spending under real estate consulting. So that's something to consider. I found when it comes to services that are often used in the personal realm, if you look under consulting, because of all the social programs that governments often have, you may find that that's where the spending is. So make sure you look up those consulting codes and add those as well.
Just gotta know where to go. Lightning round question: any workshops coming up in 2023, or anything y'all can drop in the chat just to let folks know where they can go? I was gonna also ask, like, what are some mistakes y'all see people make in their procurement process, but maybe I'll just email that out. I'll ask that through emailing. But does anyone else have any questions before we end tonight's session? I think we have a couple folks left. And or a round of applause for our panelists, who are like the greatest to walk the planet. It's been so good. So good. And this is what it takes. And y'all, answered the call. So appreciate y'all. Okay, cool. Yeah, it looks like just some good. Please save the chat. Can't stress that enough. People reach out to me, they say, what happened? I'm like, oh, you didn't save the chat. There's so many links that were given, so there's 3 little dots in the chat box. Just make sure you click that and save it. And that's it for the Black Business Rising, the Road to Creating Generational Wealth Summit. I'm going to hang on the line for a little bit longer. Appreciate y'all for coming out. Job well done, and hopefully we'll see you in the future. Thank y'all so much. Wonderful job.
Thank
Thank
you.
Peace,
Thank you,
y'all.
Tyra.
Peace.
Thanks,
Have a
Tyra.
wonderful night. Hope we can get some food.
Thank you, Tyra. Thank you, everybody. Nice to see everybody.
Bye.
So good.
Nice to see y'all.
Great to see you. Safe travels if y'all are still in the office. I'm going to hang around if there's any last minute questions. Don't forget to save the chat. Save the chat. Okay. Okay, we got Mr. Vaughn. Okay, cool. Oh,
Hi, Tyra. Thanks for
yes,
having
ma'am.
me.
Oh, thank you so much for coming around again. Like,
Of course.
don't throw us away yet.
No, never. Bye.
Bye. Peace, peace. See you later. Peace, peace. Have a good night. Peace, peace. Have a good night. Yes. Okay. We want to stop recording.